Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Yet Another Movie Podcast, the movie podcast where we talk about anything and everything related to movies or whatever else we want to talk about. Today, I am Shane Wallach, and I'm with
Sean Higgins.
And what are we doing today, Sean?
We are doing our own personal Oscar picks. This is not to specify our Oscar predictions.
No. So, the nominations are already out. In fact, by the time this podcast gets out, it'll be around Oscar time. So, the idea is we're not going to theorize what the Academy is going to pick, because honestly a lot of websites do that already much better than we would, you know, and it's not very interesting for us. We don't really care what a bunch of, you know, Hollywood hacks think, right?
Yeah.
We are going,
sometimes they get it right,
yeah, of course.
Sometimes they
I think
miss
actually
a few good ones.
the Oscars, in terms of what wins, I usually think are actually not bad choices, but we think we can do better, right? So we have each selected for every category that the Academy does, except for some of the shorts and stuff.
Yeah,
that
I mean, I don't think we have foreign films.
We are not experts on those.
I guess I have one I could mention, but that'd be obvious what wins.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then we added a couple of categories too that we're going to do first that are just like little things that we wanted to talk about.
Sure. So
basically, we're just going to, the format of the video, we're going to go through each category. We're going to quickly name our nominees. So it'll be something like this. For my category for best, you know, let's just say sound mixing, I would say my nominees: movie 1, movie 2, movie 3, movie 4, and the winner is movie 5, right? Does that work for us?
Yeah.
So essentially we go through basically what are our runners up, and then eventually we'll get to what wins and explain why. So very quick explanation. It won't be a very long podcast, we hope. Since we've been actually recording for a while already. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy it. Again, these are just our personal opinions. Absolutely understand there are a lot of good, talented people on these lists.
Yeah.
Our winners, I can tell you a lot of them were by a hair. They were very close. There's a lot of stuff that had a lot of trouble actually choosing a winner. So don't take these like they're set in stone, right? All of the people that we're going to name are all talented people, right? So, you want to start? So
Sure.
I will start, since I apparently have the order.
You have the order.
Yeah, and
we didn't talk about this before, and I'd already written it all out.
Yeah, so Sean's just going to follow along. So, starting out, we're going to do our little personal categories. So, we did a couple of breakout categories, meaning the best large either acting performance or directing, the first movie that these people directed. So, we're basically saying, who are the best newcomers, right? It's kind of our newcomer award. So, starting out, best breakout performance. You want me to jump in, Sean?
Go ahead.
Okay, so here's my runners-up, and I'll just give little explanations for all of them. My first up is Tom Taylor from The Dark Tower. He was probably the favorite part of the movie. It seems like he could be more talented given better source material. I mean, he did fine. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with his performance. Harry Styles from Dunkirk, surprisingly a talented guy in acting. You know, his role is kind of minimal in a certain way in terms of dialogue and all that, but he's a good physical actor, and I liked him in the movie. Also, Elgie Smith. I have never heard it spoken.
Algie Smith.
Elgie, is that
how I've heard it?
Okay. From Detroit. Yeah, he was fantastic. Not only can he sing, because he sings in the movie, and he's actually pretty talented. He's a great actor, and he has to really, really do a lot of great physical acting, which is really tough, you know, especially for a new actor. So, really talented guy. Also, Sophia Lillis from It, Beverly from It. Yeah, she did a great job, actually. I thought she stood out even among talented people like Jane Lieberher and Finn Wolfhard. I thought she stood really well with them, and she gave a memorable performance that I think will stick with us, you know, in terms of good child acting in horror movies. She's definitely one of the best. And then for my winner, I had to give it to Noah Jupe from Wonder. So really quick, you know, standing next to Jacob Tremblay and acting with him, I mean, he's probably one of the most talented, if not the most talented child actor of today. Noah Jupe really impressed me. Not only is he British and pulled off one of the most convincing American accents I've ever heard, he's great. Their chemistry is fantastic together. They share the screen for a lot of the movie, and I loved every time they were together. I really liked his little monologue too when he did the Jack Will portion where he had to explain why he was friends with Augie. I thought it was really heartwarming. I loved his performance. Can't wait to see him in A Quiet Place, which is coming out in a few
Yeah, I'm
months.
excited to see that.
Go ahead, Sean.
Okay, my nominations for Best Breakout Performance in a Leading Role is Sophia Lillis. I agree with you. She was the standout child performance.
I meant it's not necessarily a leading role. It's a major role.
Oh, okay. I wrote leading role, but okay, fair enough. Major role. Same thing.
Since a lot of mine aren't leading
Okay,
roles.
that's fair. I took it mostly literally, although I guess Sophia Lillis is not leading.
No.
But she is a major
One of the
role
major,
in
yeah.
the film. And she is standout. Like, she has to work with Finn Wolfhard and Jaden Lieberher, like you said, and she's still... You really feel her pain and everything. She is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see who's going to play her. Jessica Chastain, fingers crossed, in the part 2.
It would make sense.
Oh,
Mama.
yeah, it'd be perfect. But yeah, she was great. Daniel Kaluuya, Get Out. I thought he was phenomenal. You feel for this guy. He is just in utter terror. As he's slowly dawning, and you can see so much through his eyes and everything he's keeping inside. You can just see those things, like his inner thoughts so well, just for his facial expressions and his interactions. And that was fantastic.
Yep.
Detroit, I agree. Elsie Smith, fantastic, just excellent, and you really feel for him, just like all the other characters. But oh my gosh, he really stole the show in a lot of ways. Timothy Chalamet from Chalamet. My bad. From Call Me by Your Name.
I didn't put him because he's been in movies before.
Okay.
So
he
was in Interstellar, and I remembered him.
I don't remember him from Interstellar. That's kind of what my
it is
thought
his first
process
major role.
was
I
there.
mean, okay, so I guess we had different definitions because he would definitely be on here. If I counted him,
Sure.
I counted literally almost their first role.
Okay, my thought process was if they were either it was their first role,
Unless
or
it was like
I
an
really
extra...
did not remember them in another movie.
Okay, because I did remember him.
Okay,
and he was also in another movie this year, Lady Bird. So
yeah, I guess you're technically right.
for
but
both movies, I guess it's
pass.
okay.
Okay, you're right, but Timothy Chalamet, and he was fantastic. The ending is heart wrenching.
Yeah, he was great. I mean,
and
yeah.
This might be biased. Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise in it. I thought he is eerie and creepy, but also fun. He is like a great second-rate Freddy Krueger. I don't want to say it gives him a run, Robert Englund a run for his money, but he is fantastic as the character. Makes me excited for the next one. But I'm giving it to Daphne Keane from Logan because, kind of like what you said with your pick, he or she really had to hold her own against Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart for the most of the movie in silence for a lot of it. She doesn't talk. It's all through her facial expressions and her action and her anger that she is acting. But you still see the character in her. And she is a fascinating character. And I thought her performance was terrific. And especially for a child to have to be quiet and act like that throughout the whole movie. I mean, sure, a good director is big part of that. But her performance was fantastic. So I give it to her.
Yeah, and a note about Bill Skarsgård, he was in Divergent Allegiant, so I didn't count him either, because I remembered him in Allegiant.
Okay.
I guess
we have a different definition. Maybe next year I'll try to...
I took Breakout really literally. Maybe even...
Fair enough. I guess I did it.
That's why I have a lot of child actors on my list, because... And Daphne Keane, she just missed mine. I think she did a fantastic job, and absolutely...
yeah, and I do...
choice.
Yeah, and I do agree with your pick as well. But do you want to get...
Yeah, so
best
breakout director. So here are my runners-up. First, we got Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird. She did a fantastic job for a breakout. I think she succeeded a little bit more on the writing side. I'd like to see her develop her skills as a director more and develop a style more. But the script was fantastic. But she did a great job. Still, definitely excited to see her in the future. Next, I have Making Blair from I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. This is like a really quirky, interesting movie. Making Blair, I know more as an actor. He's been in some major roles. He was in Logan Lucky this year, but he's also best known for Blue Ruin, where he plays the lead. Jeremy Saulnier's movie. Yeah. Funny enough, he's best friends with Jeremy Saulnier.
He's in all of his movies.
Yeah, he's in both of his
Party.
movies.
Well,
I guess I haven't seen
Murder
Party.
He's the main character in Murder Party.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
So you know him well, too.
Yes.
Yeah, so he did directing this time, and this movie looks like a Jeremy Saulnier movie. So I will say that. But I love Jeremy Saulnier's style. So
Okay.
I got into the style of the movie. I thought it was really well directed. So yeah, even though I think he's just a little bit lesser Jeremy Saulnier, I still think he has talent. Next up, Aaron Sorkin, Molly's Game. I know a lot of people complain about his direction. I understand that it's not as solid as a David Fincher, or a Rob Reiner. There are things for him to learn. But I thought overall, even though I think it's one of his weaker scripts and one of his weaker films, I still really loved Molly's Game, and I thought the direction, especially the pacing of the film and how he handled the edit, were actually pretty good, and I got into that. Next up, and this one was really close between these two. These are my top. My last runner-up is Jeremy Rush from Wheelman. He almost won if I hadn't seen the last movie. This movie, wow, I'm glad I saw this. Nobody talked about this movie, and I just decided to watch it. It came out on Netflix, and this movie's really well made. It kind of reminds me of Buried in that way. It's like a really interesting premise that's done really well. It's the fantastically directed action. I love the idea of keeping the camera within the car for 90% of the movie. What a fantastic type of way to handle this type of thriller. It works really well, and it makes the movie more claustrophobic and creepy. Which I really liked. I thought it was fantastic. I will be very excited to see what Jeremy Rush does in the future. But my winner had to be Sean Baker for The Florida Project. Yes, this movie, this movie is really well directed. So let's just say that. I love these subtle experiential films, and his direction is perfect in this movie. It reminded me a lot of Room, actually, Lenny Abramson's work. It's a very fantastic way. I love how he covers the children, all eye level stuff, very long takes, and you kind of feel like you're among them, like you're with these people. It's a very intimate type of film, right? And it's deep and it's powerful stuff, and it's very raw too. The film is very raw. It doesn't feel heavily edited or messed with. There's a lot of long scenes, and the movie lets it flesh out. There's a lot of silence. It's really it comes from a guy who obviously is really talented. He knows what he's doing, and The Florida Project is a fantastic debut for him. I'm really excited to see Sean Baker's work in the future.
Okay, that's great. All right, my runners up are Trey Edward Schultz for It Comes at Night. This movie.
He directed a movie called Krishna.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it. He directed a pretty popular A24 movie called Krishna.
Oh, it was popular. Okay, I looked it up a little bit.
I didn't see it.
Couldn't find a lot,
but it did come out in theaters.
Okay, then you know what? Because I forgot about Jeremy Rush, I'm going to switch those two out and say Jeremy Rush instead. Because I agree with you. Jeremy Rush's directing was terrific for Wheelman. That is an amazingly directed movie. And I agree. Had I remembered him, I think I would have maybe given him the edge, or at least had him at second choice. But I forgot, so I'm not going to do that. But I will. I feel bad when you said it. I was like, oh my god, I forgot about Wheelman.
Well, to be fair,
I had just seen it.
Sean Baker has directed things before, but none of them were very big. So
sure.
Like he directed a movie called Tangerine that was like really independent. I think if a guy goes from basically making an independent movies to getting some Oscar nominations, I kind of consider that a breakout.
All right, fair enough.
So I'm not saying that as a hard and fast rule. I just know that Trey Edward Schultz actually got a lot of recognition from Krishna, and It Comes at Night wasn't like massively more successful. That's all.
That's fair.
So if you want to say Trey Edward Schultz, that's fine. I just wanted to point that out.
I guess I'll make that an honorable mention then, because you're right.
Fair enough.
That was a nomination anyways.
I just was letting you know. I didn't know if you knew.
Okay, I like both of their directors. I do like Trey Edward Schultz. I thought he was fantastic. I do now want to see Krishna. But yeah, I thought that was a fantastic little psychological horror film.
Yeah.
Well directed. Greta Gerwig, everything you said. I hope she gets a style at some point. Her writing
has a style.
Well,
absolutely.
You're right. I guess I
as
mean
a director,
directing style. Her writing style is fantastic. Absolutely, it's fascinating writing. Just like, well, another nomination, which is obvious. But
keep going.
I agree. And Aaron Sorkin obviously being the other one. Aaron Sorkin, his writing is fantastic. Molly's Game, a lot of his dialogue still punches like all of Aaron Sorkin's. I get the directing's not as well practiced yet. Hopefully he'll continue to get better if he continues as a director, that is, if he chooses that.
Yeah.
If not, he's still a fantastic writer, and I still like this movie quite a bit. Then Jordan Peele for Get Out. I thought that directing was fantastic. Wow, what a brilliant debut horror film for a new director. A guy that was just a comedic actor. I was blown away by this movie. Like I already said in my best of list, and his directing is fantastic. He really took the horror elements and made a fantastic new horror movie.
Yeah.
And my winner is Taylor Sheridan. And the reason I give it to him is because he directed one of the best honestly, the best thriller of the year. Yes, the writing and the cinematography help a lot with that film as well, obviously. But the directing it's so interesting. The way that film is shot and staged and directed, that I never felt like this was a newbie director. It felt like he really understood the craft, understood what he wanted, and really copied what was known as Sicario and Hell or High Water, but he did it well. It never felt forced like just a copycat. It felt like you could have told me he directed those films secretly, and I would almost believe you if I didn't know that was total BS. But he was fantastic. And so, yes, I give it to Taylor Sheridan.
Fair enough. I would have picked him if I knew that he counted. He directed a movie called Vile.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, because Vile, I'm like, yes, he made Vile, but I've never, I could not find that much about it, apart from seeing it on IMDb.
Yeah, so I'm just letting you know that's why he's not on my list.
At least that's why that.
We happened. Should probably define these categories more next year. This
was a first try, to be fair.
But you get an idea.
But the rest of these categories are the Academy categories. I think they're going to be a little more obvious.
Yeah, moving on. So these categories are probably go a little bit faster because, I mean, a lot of them are self-explanatory. But starting up, we got Best Costume Design. Sure. So for me, here's my nominees. Blade Runner 2049, excellent sci-fi costume design. Darkest Hour, period films are always going to succeed in this category. Darkest Hour is no exception. The Beguiled, I actually really like the costumes. I actually think they're memorable. There's something haunting about the dresses that the girls wear in the movie, and definitely great work on this. Murder on the Orient Express, some really fun costumes. I still remember Johnny Depp's
that's true
suit. That was very interesting. Of course, Kenneth Branagh's costume was pretty cool. So yeah. I enjoyed that. But in the least surprising win of the
I don't even know what it is. It's so obvious.
Phantom Thread takes it. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to give it to Dunkirk.
Oh, yeah. Oops. No, Dunkirk. Dunkirk. Actually, I think that might have been nominated for the Academy.
I think it actually was, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, but Phantom Thread. Oh, the whole movie is about the costumes. So how can you not? It's fantastic work. Absolutely. The costumes are part of the movie, and they're beautiful. You know, I actually got really interested into how these costumes were designed in the movie, and it's just thinking, costume designers actually had to think like this and make these costumes for this movie. That's really impressive. You know.
Yeah.
All right, Sean.
All right, my nominations are Shape of Water. Hey, the costumes were great. Mm-hmm. Darkest Hour, again, you're right. For those kind of period pieces, they're important, and they were fantastic. I, Tonya, I also would say had terrific, beautiful costumes. And Dunkirk, I did put that, and I guess I agree with the Academy.
It's a period film.
But Phantom Thread, obviously, is my choice. Is absolutely 100% vital to have good costumes, and they do. And it's fascinating in the film, so yeah.
Absolutely understand. Okay, next up is Best Makeup. So my runners up, it's probably be really obvious. Bright is my first. All the orc makeup was practical. Looks great, actually. Joel Edgerton's on screen for most of the movie, and yeah, his makeup was impressive. And I got Darkest Hour, so everyone knows Gary Oldman is not a fat, chubby, Winston Churchill-esque person. So they did a great job transforming him into Churchill, and I thought it looked great. It was a great effect. It helped Gary Oldman transform into that role. But the winner has to be Wonder for me. Augie Pullman's makeup, it was a very important part of the movie. In fact, it's what the whole movie is about, is how he looks. I watched a video about how they did his prosthetics. It was actually very fascinating to see. They took a lot of time designing it. They wanted to get the right effect. They wanted him to still look like a human being, but also with that disfigurement that you'd expect with someone from his condition. So it was a very tough line to draw and to not pass, but they did a great job, and the effect looks great.
So I'm trying to remember what the Academy gave these because I feel like I wrote these, I swear, before the Academy, but I think I might actually have the 3 they did. I don't know. But I'm going to go with it. I, Tonya. Really good makeup and hairstyling. Wonder, of course, just like you said, is as important. But I think for me, and it's the simple fact that I did not recognize him at all. I kept on reminding Darkest Hour.
Yeah.
I was literally like, that's Gary Oldman. That's Gary. Are we sure that's Gary Oldman? Am I sure? Like,
Absolutely.
what? Holy crap! Like, yes, you're right about Wonder. I get it's totally the runner-up. I was really tossing him in my mind.
I mean,
but
Darkest Hour is going to win. So.
It's going to win anyway, so I guess I feel justified.
Wonder did get nominated. Yeah, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did I, Tonya get nominated?
I actually don't know. That's what I was trying to remember. I remember the other 2 did. But I might have accidentally put the 3, like just predicting. That'd be hilarious.
I'm actually curious now. I want to see if you did that right. Because that'd be funny. It's funny when you totally match up with the Oscars. I think I might have done that too, at least with one of these, just because sometimes they get it really right. No, Victoria and Abdul got nominated.
Oh, that's right. I haven't seen that one. So, but anyway. Okay.
All right. That makeup category is always the weird one. That's what gave us the Oscar-winning Suicide Squad. So.
Oh, that still hurts. Okay.
Best original score I have next. Okay. So here are my runners-up. I have Rupert Gregson Williams for Wonder Woman. I thought his score is fantastic, very memorable, especially the No Man's Land scene. Fantastic work. Benjamin Wallfish from It. Yeah, he was absolutely fantastic. Actually, him and another obvious person on this list, Hans Zimmer, did the Blade Runner 2049 score that almost made it on this list. But It I liked, I think, a little bit more just because it captured that 80s kind of whimsicalness with also the creepiness that it needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a memorable score for me. Then I have Hans Zimmer on this list for Dunkirk, which was really hard not to give it to him because that score made the movie. It was pulse-pounding,
It is one of the most important
epic
parts of that score.
Yeah, it's intense stuff.
Movie.
And I think Hans Zimmer has a good shot at winning the Oscar, and I would definitely support that. I think he did a fantastic job. Then I have Carter Burwell for 3 Billboards. I actually really like the 3 Billboards score. It was memorable. It was a great, tonal.
Yeah.
Getting that Missouri type feel really well. And
I know what you mean too.
Just being extremely catchy too. Yeah. But the winner had to be what I found to be the score I listened to the most, and that is Wind River, Nick Cave and Warren Ellis. This score was haunting. It was memorable. I've never heard a score like it's really rare to hear a score where you just instantly picture the movie. You know, like you can just see the haunting snow vistas and the convoy of police, driving their snowmobiles up to the oil well. It just sticks out on my head. I love their use of vocals. It's kind of that haunting kind of Native American feel you get. Just love the score. I had to give it to it.
Fair, completely fair.
Go ahead.
My runners-up are Johnny Greenwood from Phantom Thread, and just because that score just pulled me in.
No, you're absolutely right.
That was a beautiful score. It was.
I love that Wes Anderson used... Or Wes Anderson. Paul There's too many Andersons.
Hey,
Paul Thomas Anderson.
You didn't say Paul W.S. Anderson, so you're okay.
I didn't mistake him with the bad one.
So...
I'm sorry, Paul Thomas Anderson. I love his use of classical-inspired scores. He does it in a couple of his movies, and they're always really interesting. Phantom Thread.
I have my own stupid joke, by the way, that Paul Thomas Anderson and Paul W.S. Anderson are related, and they have really awkward family get-togethers.
That would be really funny.
Anyways,
Paul Thomas Anderson did address that once in an interview.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I should find it again.
That'd be amazing. John Williams for The Post. Not for Star Wars. I like the Star Wars score, but I thought The Post was more original.
Absolutely.
It was terrific. It took me into that Spielberg world that I do love, even though I kind of ranted at him because of Transformers in the last film we just filmed. But
absolutely fair.
I still love it. Michael Abels, I believe is how you say it, for Get Out. Haunting, creepy score. He's a new composer too, from what I understand. I was reading an interview. Jordan Peele literally went up to it and said, I want a satanic black spiritual sounding score. Go and make it. And he made this creepy score that does sound so much like The Omen, but it has that African kind of music, the creepy
Which I think was
chanting.
intentional, yeah.
It was intentional, but it was perfect for the
It
film.
fit totally.
Yeah. Hans Zimmer for Dunkirk, absolutely agree with you. Everything you said on that, perfect for the film. And then Carter Burwell for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. But I'm going to give it to Benjamin Wallfish because I just can't stop listening to that creepy score from it. That score is both beautiful and haunting. It is a score that I could honestly put up with some great horror scores and just say, oh yeah, that's a great, fun little creepy score. I put it with the Poltergeist score. And it kind of has that same vibe where it's creepy during parts of the soundtrack, and then it gets like all whimsical and nice and happy when it, like in Derry and stuff. It's excellent.
Paper Boat is a great track, yeah.
Yeah, Paper Boat is too.
Absolutely. Okay, next up I have original song.
Okay.
So this is kind of a boring category for me. My runners up: The Greatest Show from The Greatest Showman, A Million Dreams from The Greatest Showman, This Is Me from The Greatest Showman.
Okay.
That is the Oscar bait track that got nominated.
Of course it did.
Yeah, so let me just say, Greatest Showman, I didn't love the movie so much, but the music was really catchy. They're both from Ben Pasek and Justin Paul, who did the musical Dear Evan Hansen, which won Tonys, a few Tonys actually. Really popular musical, but they also wrote the lyrics for La La Land, which is another thing they're really well known for. And I thought these songs were extremely catchy. So I understand some people didn't like them, but for me, couldn't get them out of my head. And then my last runner-up, this one was tough, but I had to say Mystery of Love from Call Me By Your Name from Sufjan Stevens. I hope I'm saying that right because he's going to perform at the Oscars, and then I'll figure it out, I guess. Yeah, great song. Really works well in the movie. I thought it was very beautiful, kind of poetic song. But what I had to give it to, well, it's the song I've listened to the most, and had to be The Other Side from The Greatest Showman. This song is like the most catchy song I've heard in an extremely long time. I can't stop listening to it. It features a great performance by both Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron, who are both really good singers. So I'm glad we got to see it. It's just catchy. Had to give it to the catchy song, All right.
That's fair. I didn't see The Greatest Showman, so this was a little bit more tough for me.
Fair enough.
But
I'm sure Remember Me is on there.
That's the first one nomination I was going to say.
Sorry.
Remember Me from Coco. It's a beautifully sad song written by Kristen Anderson Lopez, and Robert Lopez,
who are very well known, not only for doing the musical The Book of Mormon,
right,
but for doing the songs of Frozen.
Yes.
Including Let It Go.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is not as catchy,
I think
I guess it's
Robert
Let It Go.
Lopez just did Book of Mormon. I think him and his wife both did.
Yeah. They both did Frozen. Though. But anyway,
sorry.
This is a beautiful song.
No, I agree. It's just I don't listen to it, and I feel like I need to listen to the song.
That's fair.
It works in the movie.
I can understand that.
Yeah. So.
I guess I re-listened to a ton of songs. Thought, would I listen to this? Yes.
Okay. That's fair. Absolutely.
Mystery of Love from Call Me By My Name.
Call Me By Your Name.
Call Me By Your Name.
Call Me By My Name. I hope they
Call Me By My Name, jerk. It sounds like a drama. Another kind of drama. Sufjan Stevens, I'm going to butcher it too, probably. But that was a beautiful song as well. Perfect for me. And I'll admit this one is solely because I just wanted a fourth pick. Was He Slow from Baby Driver by Kid Coolio? It's just kind of so funny and catchy.
Was that submitted?
No, not to the Oscars, but like that's a legit originally made song by a guy they used in the movie. Like someone just.
But do you know if they submitted that for an Oscar campaign?
No.
Okay.
I just put it out because it was funny.
Okay.
Because I have, to be fair, listened to the songs just because it's so funny. But anyways, my actual pick is "It Ain't Fair," Detroit by The Roots. I thought that just said it all about the movie. I thought it was beautiful. It works on its own as well as with the movie.
It's a great
and
pick.
then when I re-listened to it, I was like, oh yeah, that one. That just, yep.
See,
it
you
breaks
have,
your heart listening to it.
You have legitimate picks of great music. I have these catchy musical songs. So
well, fair enough.
You definitely have the more high art position on that one.
All right.
Okay, so next
except for Was He Slow.
Except for
this was my own little funny thing, to be fair. I
really wish that they would have nominated that so they could have Kevin Spacey come in to perform.
That'd be amazing.
Kevin Spacey
Was he
there.
slow?
It'd be so awkward.
The devil behind the wheel. Was he slow? Sorry. Keep going.
All right. So next up, I have Best Production Design.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So this one, there were some great ones this year. The Lost City of Z. I really liked the production design of that movie. It for an independent-esque movie, low budget, lower budget movie. I thought it did a great job establishing the time. Darkest Hour. For all the reasons we said for costume design. I mean, again, it's just a fantastically designed movie. Murder on the Orient Express. One of the best elements of the film is the production design. I love the train and the elements within it. I mean, that was all designed by set designers, and they did a great job. Next and last runner-up, Dunkirk. This was a really well-designed movie. It's very understated and minimal, which is what the movie needed. It can't have distracting visuals. It's a very dark, war film. Yeah. But it established the period really well. But the winner, and this is probably another obvious one, Blade Runner 2049. Yeah, this movie was visually stunning. This movie, the sets were fantastic. It just reminds you of the original Blade Runner. What was so great about that movie? The grimy streets, the clean interiors of Jared Leto's headquarters. You have the little hut, where Dave Bautista's character lives. I mean, all of these are really memorable locations, and I really appreciate the production design. I had to give it to Blade Runner.
All right, that's
all right, your
fair
turn.
enough. I have a few here.
Right.
But my runners-up are Dunkirk, just like you said, very understated, but wonderful production design. Puts you right back in that world of the 1910s when World War One, England, and it's excellent. Wonder Woman, for a lot of the same reasons. I thought that had wonderful production design, both on, I always screw up the big names, of Paradise Island and the World War One later. I almost said World War II there.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Black Coat's Daughter, very excellently designed, creepy looking horror film. Design is very important in certain horror films, like Black Coat's Daughter, where it needs to be really creepy looking, and it really pulls through. War for the Planet of the Apes, I thought production design also was gritty, raw, and one of the best parts of that movie. Thor Ragnarok, just because it was so creative, I put it on here. And so, it's such a cool world to run with. Darkest Hour, again, much like Dunkirk, very important for those kind of war movies. And Detroit, just because it was so down and gritty, felt so much like this era of time and everything.
Was that more than...
That was. I was trying to narrow it down quickly.
Oh.
I couldn't narrow it down.
Okay, I'll let you go this time, but try and keep it to 5.
This is like the only time I did that.
Okay.
Blade Runner 2049 is the winner.
Okay.
And for all the reasons you said, beautiful, just production design. It looks terrific. The sci-fi world, it really brought back the old original Blade Runner and really added something new with the look of it. Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, next up I have Best Cinematography. So this one I have names. I'm sorry I haven't named everybody. I can't possibly memorize like all the names of costume designers or production design, but I try to get the names down of the people who really make an impact, like the cinematographers or like the people you can really understand their style. It's hard to understand the style of a costume designer, but it's really much easier to understand the style of cinematographers. And I know all of these people from other movies they've done. Did you find it? You sound like you're having trouble. Okay.
No, I didn't. I was like, okay, I just gotta scroll up real quick.
You're like, oh god.
No, you were going
jumping
down literally to the next one. I was like, oh, this is really easy. Now you're like cinematography. I'm like, oh, hold on.
Like way far away.
Way up.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start off. I have Seamus McGarvey for Life. I think he's actually more talented than he gets credit for. He did The Greatest Showman this year too, which actually was pretty visually interesting too. He also did Atonement, Nocturnal Animals, and 50 Shades of Grey, which I brought up in my my worst list of this year. But I did credit that movie for being visually interesting, and I think that he did a good job. But Life, I thought it was a great did a great job of establishing the claustrophobia of the space station with that fantastic opening oneer. Through the International Space Station. Great shots of space, great use of space photography. I just thought it was an excellently shot horror movie, very evocative of movies like Alien, but did it its own way, and I really liked that. Then I have Philip Lassorde for The Beguiled. The visual is probably one of the best parts of The Beguiled. It's a very visually pleasing movie. Absolutely beautiful film. I loved the visuals. Then I have Hoyt van Hoytema for Dunkirk. It was tough not to give him the win because he is the new Wally Pfister. Who knew that Wally Pfister could be replaced? It turns out he can. Hoyt van Hoytema did a fantastic job at Interstellar, continues that work with Dunkirk. Great looking movie. And next up, and this is one that was tough between these two, but my last runner-up is Barry Ackroyd from Detroit. I love Barry Ackroyd. I think I call him the king of handheld photography.
Sure, I can say that.
He is the only one that I say I trust with shaky cam. I don't think anyone else can do shaky cam well, but this guy, he works with Catherine Bigelow and Paul Greengrass. He shot movies like Captain Phillips, like The Hurt Locker, the latest Bourne movie he shot. So he obviously knows what he's doing when it comes to handheld. And Detroit makes great use of his.
Did he do all the Bourne movies?
No, he didn't, actually. That was Doug Liman's guy. Paul Greengrass used him throughout until Jason Bourne. He did that. But he did U-993, which is Paul Greengrass's earlier movie, and he did all his later ones too.
Okay.
But the winner, and this might also not come as a surprise, Roger Deakins for Blade Runner 2049.
I'm shocked.
Let's hope this guy finally wins an Oscar, because this movie was fantastic. This was so beautiful. The cinematography. It was the best part of the movie. I had a lot of problems with Blade Runner 2049. The visuals were not one of them. This movie was stunning. Absolutely stunning. Visuals are fantastic. This is the kind of movie that you turn on with the sound off and just enjoy it from a visual perspective. You wouldn't be bored at all. That's how pretty this movie is. All right, Sean, what'd you have?
All right, my runners-up are Ben Richardson from Wind River. Again, like I alluded to when talking about Wind River earlier, yes, the cinematography was very important here. It looks horrific. It's gritty.
I thought it was fantastic.
Eerie. It's beautiful, but it's creepy at the same time, and that's a great mixture from a lot of these shots.
He did 1922 this year as well.
He did.
Yeah,
I actually didn't notice that.
Yeah, because I looked him up earlier.
Oh, I could see that actually.
Yeah.
You know what? Awesome. Yeah, he did great there as well. Julie Kirkwood from The Black Coat's Daughter. Again, the cinematography was incredible. Just these really eerie long shots of these woods and this little church area. Beautifully creepy, eerie cinematography here.
Yeah.
Jens Kaminsky from The Post. Just these sweeping, close-ups and handheld shots. Spielberg does that well.
Kaminsky always does great work.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been working with Spielberg for 20 years now. So
yeah. It's a staple of Spielberg's films because of that, and they fit very well. And
despite your joke of the spotlight fetish.
Of course, the spotlight fetish, of course. But honestly, that was one of the things, because the thing with the writing is, yes, the story is very much like people talking, but the cinematography is very important to keep the movie feel like it's flowing, like there's action, even though it's people just standing around talking.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes that movie work, or one of the big things that makes that movie work so well. And then I have Hoyt van Hoytema. Hoytema, thank you. For Dunkirk, again, I agree, it was very, very close. Terrific, beautiful, and eerie, long shots, great cinematography. But Roger Deakins, come on, of course. Every shot in that movie is like a freaking painting, man. It is beautiful, and yeah, I can't talk enough about it. I agree. Give him the award, please, Oscars. Dang.
He deserves it. He's been trying for 20 years.
My God, since Shawshank Redemption, yeah.
Okay. So then I have Best Sound Mixing.
Okay.
This one is very similar to Best Sound Editing, so you're going to notice the similarity. So I have, we should probably explain what sound mixing and sound editing are for the audience. Mixing is the final mix, so it's how sound is integrated into the film. It's basically the music, the effects, everything layered on top of each other, dialogue, all of that counts in the mixing. Sound editing is literally the creation of sound. So it's how movies create sounds for their tracks. It's basically like sound that isn't recorded on set, it has to be created. So that's the difference. Now that everyone knows, best sound mixing, I have As my runners up, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Obviously, Star Wars is going to do well here. Involves a lot of layers of sound and some excellent scenes in this film, like the hyperspace scene. Really exemplify what I loved about the sound mix here. Is that the use of silence was fantastic. Then I have Life, another really well executed sound design. It's a space movie, so it always encounters challenge, and this movie did try to create that vacuum sound that Gravity kind of did, and it did a good job. Wonder Woman is on here. A lot of layered sound in this film, a lot of huge action scenes. I thought it did a great job, especially in the no man's land sequence. I keep bringing that up because, I love it. But it used sound perfectly. It let the music swell and take the center stage. It knew when to do that, which I love, when movies realize they have a great score and they need to make good use of it, but also the sound's great in that whole action scene. And then I have Blade Runner 2049. The sound mix was actually really fantastic here. All of the sounds, the movie sounded great. It really reminded me of the original Blade Runner in that way. But I had to give it to Dunkirk. This movie had a fantastic mix. Hans Zimmer's score is booming and loud, but you still get all that just fantastic sound. We see all this in the IMAX, and it was just absolutely blew me away. The sound was fantastic. Unfortunately, the sound's never going to hold up in a home theater scenario because you're just not going to get that same feeling. But seeing this in the big screen with that booming sound at you.
I'm so happy that I saw this in IMAX. That was terrific.
What a great experience. Yeah, so how about you, Sean?
All right, for sound mixing, I have Wonder Woman. I thought the sound was terrific. The bullets flying by her head in the no man's land scene, of course, it being a huge staple. Very memorable sequence with sound mixing. Star Wars, again, agree with you. Of course, the sound is extremely important to all the Star Wars movies. And like you said, the hyperspace and everything, the way they did that, the way they just have these, the fights just have that more punch with the sound in Star Wars, of course, as everyone knows. Then I have Baby Driver. I thought the sound mixing was very important in this film and very worth mentioning. I thought it was just terrific. The whole movie's literally about music integrated with sound and action, so it had to be on here.
Absolutely.
And then War for the Planet of the Apes. I think, war movies always do well here. So, of course, that's why War for the Planet of the Apes.
Even though it's not really a war movie.
It is, but it's a war action movie. It's a fictional war, but it's still a war. But, I know what you mean.
It's not really
I
a
know
war
what you
movie.
mean. I know what you mean. But I still feel like the sound makes it
Fair enough.
done
Absolutely.
very well. But, of course, the winner, I agree with you. Dunkirk. Duh. The sound was so important here in the mix. And, yeah, the way you'd hear, a German plane flying off in the distance, and you don't see it.
The dive bombers.
These most tense, these dive bombers. It's like the most tense, eerie thing, mixed with that Hans Zimmer music.
With the ticking time.
Yeah, perfect. It's like, oh my god, you could not make a more tense film, Christopher.
I loved how
Damn.
the air battles were so loud, but it actually it worked really well for the movie.
It's like the air battles are so loud, and then it's like dialed down a little bit when they're on the ground, but it's still like enough so you hear it obviously, and it sounds realistic. It really puts you in the moment, and that's why I gotta give it to it.
Yeah. All right. So sound editing, real quick. It's a very similar category, obviously. So Dunkirk is a runner-up. I actually split the categories this time, so that's interesting. But yeah, Dunkirk. All these war movies, a lot of sounds have to be created, and they did a great job. Blade Runner 2049, it's a sci-fi movie. Sci-fi really succeeds with this kind of category. The sound landscape was fantastic, and I really appreciated the sounds they created. Star Wars: The Last Jedi, again, it's a science fiction-esque movie. You have a lot of space stuff, a lot of things they needed to create sound for. I loved some of the sounds they created. I thought it was... it worked really well in establishing this universe as a fantasy kind of space world. Then I have Mother. So this is that throw-in. Mother, the whole final act really succeeds on its sound. The sound actually really helps raise the tension and impact how you feel about the movie. It makes you more claustrophobic and more scared and more, thrilled about what's going on. The sound is actually incredibly important in that part of the movie, and I really appreciated the sound editing there. But the win, I had to give it to Life. So speaking about science fiction, so the sounds they created for Kelvin specifically, I thought were just fantastic. There was no roars, no over the top. noise. Kelvin is actually mostly silent, but the sound of his tentacles, grabbing and latching onto things, and the sound of him, inside a certain character's body while they're gulping blood out of their mouth. Just fantastic work. And then when Kelvin becomes more of a monster at the end, you get a little bit of the growls and the hints at at the animalistic sounds he makes. I thought they were fantastic, and all the space stuff is great. I mean, it's just really well done. So I had to give it to that. All right, how about you?
Okay. My sound editing is Dunkirk. I also split the vote here because I felt like, okay, I might as well at least give it to something else. Even though the sound editing is terrific, and this was a runner-up. It's absolutely needed, like I said, for this movie. Wonder Woman, pretty much the same deal. Terrific sound editing. Sounds were integrated perfectly. Blade Runner 2049, much like you said, very important in sci-fi. And I know these... The next one I also agree with you, Star Wars: Last Jedi. Again, the sound editing is beautiful in the fight sequences and the lightsaber battles and all of everything in this movie. But I split the vote for Baby Driver because I wanted to give it one of these, and I decided sound mixing I was going to give to Dunkirk, and this sound editing because I think the way it was edited with the music was so pivotal, even more than the mixing. For this film.
Okay, explain what you're saying, because sound editing is literally the creation of sound for the movie.
Oh, I completely read the wrong... Okay, I think I screwed this up then.
Because I said life...
Okay, I'm going to switch them. How about this? I'll switch them. Baby Driver sound mixing, Dunkirk, you get sound editing. I'm sorry, I screwed them up in my head when I was doing this list. That apparently.
A lot of people messed them up, but... Everyone's got to remember that the mix is literally the final product of the sound. The editing is literally how they edit sounds.
Okay, then in that case, the mix would be Baby Driver.
Like, imagine this. This is why I always tell people. Chewbacca is a mixture of like a sea lion and a lion and a walrus, all these different sounds mixed together. They edited that sound together to create a new sound for Chewbacca. That's editing.
Okay.
Then it was mixed into the film by sound mixers.
Okay.
That's the difference.
Okay, then that makes sense. So yes, for sound editing, then it's Dunkirk for all the things I said. Basically,
absolutely,
the way it
was
integrated.
Understand.
Then Baby Driver for mixing because it is mixed so perfectly with the music, and that's the important thing for Baby Driver. So yes.
Okay.
Sorry for the confusion.
That's all right.
But let's go to the next category.
Easy thing to remember. Best visual effects. I have next.
All right.
So, let's start real quick. Star Wars: Last Jedi. Star Wars is kind of a shoe-in these categories.
Yeah.
They always do a great job. I mean. It's
one of the most important things.
I mean, ILM is probably one of the best, if not the best, visual effects house around. So, got to give them credit where credit is due. They did a fantastic job. Then we have Blade Runner 2049. The effects I loved, actually. They used a lot of miniatures. They used the same guys who worked on the Lord of the Rings trilogy to create miniatures. The police station is a miniature. The Jared Leto building is a miniature. They actually created a whole cityscape around the police station. So that shot you're seeing is real. That's not CGI. And there is CGI in the movie, and I thought the CGI is really well integrated, and the movie has a great look. And I think my favorite model has to be the junkyard where they land, and Ryan Gosling kind of explores his past. That's all a miniature. All of that trash are tiny little pieces of miniature that they built. That is real. That is not CGI at all. They use CGI for the background, but there's a lot of realistic effects in there. Just wanted to really quickly say that because a lot of people might not know. Then I have as Dunkirk with VFX. All of the dogfights in the air looked fantastic, all really well integrated into the film. The ships look great. All the visual effects really well done. When the ships sink, they look like ships really sinking. I mean, it's great effects. Nolan's movies are really good with visual effects, though. He knows how to use them well. He mixes practical and CGI really seamlessly. And then I have Life as my last runner-up. The design of Kelvin, I just love how they designed him. I know I have Life a lot on this list. A lot of people don't give it
I know. I was thinking this Life's going to win.
No. I just think Life was one of those overlooked movies this year.
That's fair. I liked it a lot, too.
But, just the way Kelvin moves, his design, everything about him is creepy. And they had to create the whole International Space Station CGI. And everything that happens in the movie is basically computers. And it's all done really well, It's it's definitely a testament to the filmmaking. But the win had to go to War for the Planet of the Apes. Yes. Andy Serkis's Caesar is better than ever. He looks fantastic. All of the supporting apes look great. The CG is just absolutely stunning. It's just some of the best work I've ever seen in movies. Really, really well done. And it just shows that there is a big future for performance capture in film. I mean, this stuff, the way it's looking today, tomorrow it's just going to be, you can't even tell. Like, even an eagle-eyed viewer might be able to tell that this is CG, but I think this shows a bright future for CGI characters in film and how seamless they will be integrated.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, my nominations are Thor Ragnarok. The visual effects were spectacular, the fight sequences and everything, and just the beautiful visual world. Dunkirk, I agree. The visuals of the ships and the fighting and it looked visually stunning. Just everything about it, just the tenseness, the realism of the ships and everything. Star Wars: Last Jedi, very important for Star Wars again, is the visual worlds and everything, and the beautiful ships and the look of it all. It was terrific. Blade Runner 2049, a lot for the reasons you said, and I actually agree with you on the winner. I picked War for the Planet of the Apes as well.
Fair enough.
For very much the same reasons you said.
Yeah, it has a definite shot at winning, I think. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, next up I have Best Editing.
All right.
So you want to find that?
Best Editing?
All right, so this one was tough. There were a lot of good ones this year. So first runner-up, William Goldenberg and Harry Yoon for Detroit. This movie, I mean, taking Barry Ackroyd's cinematography, it's very important to edit it well, and they did a great job. This movie is really intense. It's definitely edited in a very documentarian style that Catherine Bigelow likes, that boots on the ground type, you're actually there, quick, frantic paced editing. I love that style. I have Valerio Benelli for Darkest Hour. I thought the editing was really good in this movie. It helped the movie flow. They took the already excellent cinematography, structured the movie well. A lot of long takes, which I appreciated. I thought the movie was edited in a seamless way where you can't notice it, right? It's like one of those edits that's genius because you don't really notice. That's great editing, by the way. Next, I have Lee Smith for Dunkirk. Again, Dunkirk, I keep bringing up technicals because it's just a fantastically made movie.
Yeah.
The editing is no exception. The action scenes look fantastic. They're edited well. Especially the dogfights. The editing is just great in those aerial scenes. Just really helps the tension, which is important. And then last up, I have, for my runners-up, I have John Gregory for Three Billboards. I thought the editing was great. This movie is an interesting one to structure. You have a lot of characters. You have a lot of things going on at the same time. So the editing was obviously challenging, even though it's in the script. I mean, you have to structure that thing well. You need to make scenes flow together. I love their use of establishing shots. I thought it did a great job. The film was very well constructed. But, of course, you'll probably like my winner. I had to give it to Paul Matchless for Baby Driver. Baby Driver, the edit is the king of that movie. The edit is fantastic. I mean, basically whole sequences are edited to already existing music. Very tough to pull off and make it feel that kinetic and that fun. And Baby Driver did it. It's just an incredibly fun movie with the edit in mind. It's an extremely good job. It shows a lot of talent. And I loved the visual style and the editing of the film, and they worked really well hand in hand. I mean, the movie, during those chase sequences, the editing is really great. It rivals some of the best car chases I've seen. So
okay, I agree. All right, my nominations. I actually can't believe I didn't think of Detroit, and I feel bad now. But I'm going to go with what I have, obviously, and my nominations are Lee Smith for Dunkirk.
Yep.
Terrific editing. As I've said before, this movie, all the technicals I agree with you are terrific, and the editing really sells the terror and the tension that these men are going through.
Yeah.
Andrew, I'm going to butcher his last name. I'm going to try not to.
Just try.
Weisblum from Mother? Something like that.
I need to see it.
Yeah. Well.
Weisblum.
Weisblum from Mother.
You did a good job.
Very nice long shots, but they were edited in such a way where it still flowed and wasn't distracting when the cuts came, and really added to the claustrophobia.
Yeah, it was very coherent.
Very nice, cohesive editing, like you said. Tatiana S. Rigo for I, Tanya. I thought the editing, with the way they'd edited in the interviews, and also just the figure skate.
Yeah, that almost made my list. That was the one that was tough.
I felt like I should at least throw it on there. And then I have a twofer, at least as I looked it up on Wikipedia. So I feel like that's probably accurate. Michael McCusker and Dirk Westervelt for Logan. Mm-hmm. Very quick at it. Beautifully way they edited in all the action, so it felt very choreographed, choreographed, yes, but also just really flowed and had a real grit to it, and the editing really pulled it off and really showed that.
Yeah.
But pretty obvious what I'm picking. Paul Michaelis for Baby Driver, of course. It's so pivotal and integral to that film.
We agreed.
I have to give it to it, of course. And I love Baby Driver, so I don't even feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Course. So, yeah.
All right, let's get to the screenplays.
All right.
Start off with Best Adapted Screenplay.
Okay.
All right, so here's my runners-up. First off, I got Scott Frank and James Mangold for Logan. I thought they did a great job adapting a comic. They changed a lot, which is actually testament to them because they have to please fans and they have to please common moviegoers. I think they did a great job. I thought the movie was very well written. One of the best parts of the movie. Next up, I have Scott Neustadter. I love these guys, and I can't pronounce their names. And Michael Weber for The Disaster Artist. Disaster Artist, I think the script shines almost above anything else. It's funny. It's heartfelt. It's extremely well written. I don't know. I haven't read the Greg Sestero book, so I
just got the audio.
Oh, did you?
Audible,
okay.
So
You'll have to let me know
for sure
what they did to it. The
Okay.
story, but it seems like they took a story that obviously took place over a long period of time and really condensed it in a way that felt cohesive and felt believable. So
Okay.
it was a really good job. Next up, I have James Ivory for Call Me by Your Name. I thought this script, I thought it was delightfully unusual. Right? You know, you have an idea of how these love stories are going to go, and I love that James Ivory just subverted that cliche. He made this more of an experiential film, a very slow build, a film that takes turns that you don't really expect, you know, and kind of eases into the romance, doesn't make it obvious or in your face, you know. And I love the dialogue too. Dialogue was great. Next up, I got Sofia Coppola for The Beguiled. Now, obviously, this is not only a remake but also based on a book. So it's definitely a tough challenge to make something stand out. I haven't seen the original yet. I'm sorry. I really want to see the original movie. But I thought this script was really well done. I thought that the dialogue all seemed compelling. The film was paced extremely well. It took turns at the exact right moment. You know, this movie went exactly where it needed to go. I thought it was extremely well written. Now, this might show my bias. It was really tough. By the way, Greta Gerwig almost made this list. It was so close. But I have to give it to Aaron Sorkin for Molly's Game.
Wasn't Greta Gerwig, wasn't Lady Bird the original? That's not based on anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
I looked at... Okay,
never mind. I was
sure.
looking at the wrong list. I have a space between my...
Oh, okay. I like purposely put a few spaces.
But I was wrong because, yeah, these are my nominees. Jeez, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. Forget that. We'll get to that category. No, my winner is Aaron Sorkin for Molly's Game. Yeah, okay. Absolutely. I loved this script. It was Aaron Sorkin. What can I say? I love Aaron Sorkin. The story is extremely well written. It's not like your typical, you know, biopic, like beginning, middle, end. You know, it jumps all over the place, and it's got a lot of energy to it. I absolutely loved that. So I had to give it to Aaron Sorkin. I mean, I'm a huge fan of his, so what can I say? I'm a bit biased. Go ahead, John.
I love Aaron Sorkin as well, and I did nominate him. I did not give it to him, though. But
so Aaron Sorkin?
I agree. A nomination, like, he is wonderful. Like, this is not my favorite script. And I guess I'll say this next one. Scott Frank and James Mangold for Logan is nominated as well.
Okay.
So, no. I knew that's what you were thinking.
Oh, no, I wonder who won. I still know who won.
Okay.
Well, now I know who it is. All right, name the other two.
These two... Can I talk?
Yes.
Jeez.
Sorry.
Okay. These two were. I'm sorry I didn't give it to Aaron Sorkin. Maybe I should. You'd shut up. These two were both terrific. Like you said, they adapted and they made this wonderful send off for Wolverine and everything. And yeah, I've already said my piece on Logan, my best of you. Chase Palmer and Gary Doberman for It. I thought they adapted the book extremely well. This very long book, but they really had to shorten it down to 2 hours, and they did a terrific job. It felt like it flowed well. They adapted it to the 80s. They changed the whole decade, and they still managed to make it feel like that creepy eeriness of the town in the book. So, fantastic. Steve Conrad and R.J. Palacio, yes, for Wonder.
Yeah.
Made me want to read the
Well,
book.
R.J. Palacio is the author of the book. So.
Okay.
Steve Conrad
that's
wrote.
how it said it.
Yeah,
so,
that's fine.
Yeah, I just went with it.
I think she consulted, but I think Steve
Okay,
Conrad actually
she was probably
wrote.
well then. Okay.
That was my runner-up,
Okay.
that I didn't make.
But yeah, I
the
thought
list.
it was terrifically heartwarming script. It was beautiful, but I'm gonna give it to Scott Newstar and Michael H. Weber for Disaster
I
Artist.
knew it exactly. Right after you
because
said
I
it.
loved it. I'm sorry, I love this script so much. It took, yes, there's a book in between, but it took this real life story that it could have gone so wrong. This script could have just been a mockery of Tommy Wiseau, but it was like a loving homage to, yes, a terrible film, but also the film itself and the desire to make a movie. And, I appreciate that the script did that. It really pulled it off. It really made me care about this complete moron and who's also kind of a jerk. It's true, though. Tommy Wiseau's a moron, but everyone knows it, and everyone loves him for it, so it's fine. And, yeah, I absolutely adored this script. So, yes, I gave it to The Disaster Artist.
All right. That's fair. Now let's move to Best Original Screenplay.
Right.
Okay, so, yeah, sorry about that flub earlier. It's a little late, so I did write this list a few weeks ago, so it's still just going with it. So first up, I have Stephen Rogers for I, Tonya. I thought the script was fantastic. It's a great way to tell the story. Kept me invested the whole time. I loved the fourth wall breaks. Obviously, I was a fan of The Big Short, and this movie is very evocative of that script. I just thought it was a kinetic story. It moved very well, and it told the story from different perspectives, which is really interesting for a movie to give you multiple perspectives and multiple ways to read one tale, Next, I have Mark Boal for Detroit. I'm a big fan of Mark Boal. He wrote The Hurt Locker. He wrote Zero Dark 30. He's a very frequent collaborator with Catherine Bigelow, as you know. Now he wrote Detroit. I love this script. I thought it was a great way to analyze the Detroit riots through a specific event, and I thought that was a great way to handle it because it's such a big story, but focusing on this one event was a great way to do it. Next up, I have Taylor Sheridan for Wind River. Yeah, he's going to be a frequent inclusion probably for me. I love his writing style. I love the type of movies that he writes. This was a really thrilling film, very excellently written. I love how realistic it is, and it doesn't do anything too strange or silly. Then my last runner-up, and this was tough, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird. She wrote a fantastic script. She's definitely a very talented writer. It's funny, it's heartfelt, it's enjoyable. It's got a lot of great emotional moments. I really loved. I always say the airport with Laurie Metcalf is a heartbreaking scene for me. Anyone who's seen the movie knows what I'm talking about. Don't worry, it's not really a spoiler. Just a fantastic script. Absolutely enjoyed it. But I'm a little biased again. I'm sorry. I had to give it to Martin McDonagh for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I love Martin McDonagh. I think he's one of the most talented writers of our generation. Really, he is up there with Aaron Sorkin. His scripts are always great. I loved In Bruges. I loved Seven Psychopaths. I think this is probably his best film. It's more dramatic than his other films. He is so good at developing really fleshed out 3-dimensional characters. He's so good at that. I loved the characters in this movie. I thought, Frances McDormand's character was strong but realistically strong. She had this sort of, she's been worn away over the years and become cynical but she's fantastic. That's the great thing. He writes all these characters that have flaws, tangible flaws, but they're all likable. you like them, despite their flaws. And you understand their flaws. They're all human beings, He's great at writing human beings. Every character he writes in every film has flaws to them, and I love that. So, there you go. What are yours?
Funny enough, I don't think we're going to differ too much here. Mike Bull for Detroit.
Mark.
Oh, crap. Okay. I must have been tired when I wrote that. Mark Bull for Detroit. His script is, like you said, absolutely gripping, heart-wrenching, and just you really get into what these men went through and you really feel for them because of...
And women.
But, specifically the black men who were terrorized more than
the
two white women, the white people.
They didn't seem to have a good night either.
No, but I feel like the focus is a little more on the black people that were tortured a little more thoroughly. It really is gripping and sad and depressing and all the things it should have been for this story. It was perfect. Taylor Sheridan for Wind River. Just gripping, and I agree. I love the scripts for Sicario and Hell or High Water. They're so gripping. They're almost like all of his films have this new Western almost, but it's kind of also
like
apocalyptic,
a neo-Western,
noir. It's this great mixture of them, and I think again terrific script that perfectly has that feel to it. Jordan Peele for Get Out. I thought the script was gripping, creepy, and yes, there are problems with the script, but overall I thought it was so gripping that it makes up for those little minor issues that come through in the film. Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird. Again, fantastic script that pulled me into this character story. You really feel, again, for the mother, Maureen Metcalf, and Saoirse Ronan and their relationship, and that's all due to the script and to the acting.
Absolutely.
But I agree completely with you. Martin McDonagh, 3 Billboards, that is my winner, of course. Again, I love the arcs in this movie, and the movie takes turns to places you don't normally expect. Every time you think, this is the cliche, nope, we're not going to go there. And they do it again and again. And it's really nice and refreshing that we have a movie like that. And I thought the script was just phenomenal. So yes, that's the winner.
Yeah. Well, we agree. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so best documentary feature. I only saw 2. So
I only saw 1. So I wonder what won for me.
All right. Well, why don't you go, Sean, if you only saw 1?
I saw the... what the hell is that? Oh, yeah. 66, 67, James Manfield documentary. It was a fascinating little documentary about the history of James Manfield. And
so it wins by default.
It wins by default, but it was a fascinating urban legend documentary. I love Hollywood urban legends. So if you're into that, I recommend it.
Yeah. So I have 2. One of them was actually nominated for an Oscar, so thank God. So the first one, my runner-up, is One of Us. This is actually thrown up as a possible Oscar nomination. It's from the people who did Jesus Camp, and I love Jesus Camp, so of course I watched it. It wasn't as good as Jesus Camp, but it did give me some interesting information on a community I knew nothing about, Hasidic Jews, and I'm glad I watched it because now I know a lot about Hasidic Jews. And it's, again, very similar to Jesus Camp. It's a criticism of very extremist religion, and they did a good job. And it's if you've seen Jesus Camp, it's very much in that same style. But my winner, and the one that's nominated but apparently has no chance of winning, is Last Men in Aleppo. So yeah, this is the movie that or documentary, I should say, be clear, that covers the White Helmets, the group of people in Aleppo, who basically rescue people in bombed out buildings, and that's basically their job, is to rescue civilians who live in this war zone in Syria, and it's very touching, somber, depressing movie, just about the horrors of war on the civilian side. That what does civilians have to go through? We get so much of the picture of what the soldiers go through, but now we get to see the actual consequences of war on the civilian population, and it was a good watch. I'm glad I saw it. All right, so you want to move on to animated feature?
Yeah.
Okay, so another really quick one. So my runner's up. I threw Cars 3 on there just so I could have another nominee. Yes, it was on my worst list, but it was well animated.
Just so you could have 3, I understand.
It was well animated. It was Pixar. They make pretty movies, so sure, animation was good.
All right.
Then my other runner-up, the Lego Batman movie. This one shared the same great animation that the Lego movie had. Unfortunately, it doesn't really have the heart, but if you like Batman, or you're just up for like just a fun movie, this movie will suffice. It's a fun little kids movie that an adult can get enjoyment out of as well. Mm-hmm. But the winner, and the most obvious of all time, is Coco. Yes, of course, Pixar beats Pixar with their actual good movie of the year. Yeah, Coco was fantastic. It was a great story. It was very sweet and had this nice just this nice story that I got into. It's nothing amazing. It's not even one of Pixar's best movies, but I liked how they used Mexican culture. It was good to learn a little bit more about that. And the Land of the Dead was always kind of an interesting concept that Mexican culture has, and putting that on screen was a great idea. So I liked Coco a lot.
All right, yeah. Much like you, I only saw 3, but I didn't put a bad one on here. I just put Pokemon, the movie, I Choose You, which is a... Look,
I love that you saw.
I watched it because I grew up with Pokemon, and I just figured, you know what? What the hell? I'll watch it. It was fine. It was sweet. It took me back to the old Pokemon anime, and that's what I wanted it to do. And it has that great Japanese animation, and it looks fantastic. So, yeah, it does deserve a nomination. It's a fine movie in itself. Lego Batman movie is a better one, and I agree with what you said. The animation is incredible. It doesn't hold up as well as the Lego movie, but it is a fun romp of a silly kids movie with Lego Batman in it. And of course, Coco. Beautiful animation. Pixar does it yet again. Of course it's going to win. It'll probably win the real Oscar too. I'm sure it will, because God forbid they give it to anything else ever.
I mean, I haven't seen Loving Vincent. That movie did look really interesting.
I saw the trailer for that.
I don't want to hate on Loving Vincent, because actually I probably will see that eventually. But by spirit of popularity, it'll be Coco.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, Disney, I remember that. I'll vote for that. That's exactly what it'll be. But to be fair, Coco did have beautiful animation. So
it did.
I do think it would deserve it, at least.
Okay.
All right.
Best Supporting Actress is up next.
All right.
So, yeah, this was tough. These acting ones. I'll just say that right now. Some of these were really tough. This one was one of the easier ones, thank God. Okay, so Best Supporting Actress. First off, my first runner-up is Julia Roberts from Wonder. I thought she did a fantastic job not stealing the show, but also giving an extremely heartfelt, great performance that Julia Roberts always gives. I love Julia Roberts, so had to give her some recognition. Next up, I have Holly Hunter from The Big Sick. She was the best part of The Big Sick. She was fantastic in the movie. I mean, she's one of those really underrated actresses, and I really hope she gets some recognition from this. And yeah, she was great, really. Like, she did a good job. Then I have Kirsten Dunst from The Beguiled. I think this is Kirsten Dunst's best work of her career. She did such a good job in The Beguiled. She's a very mysterious character, and dealing with that is very interesting. And, she's very subdued in the movie, which she needed, because that's what her role called for. I loved her physical acting, too. She does a lot with her face, which is very tough, type of acting to do. So I really liked that. And my last runner-up, now this was the hard one, but I had to say Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird. She was, oh my God. Okay, let me just talk about Laurie Metcalf for a second. She was so good. I thought she was the best part of the movie. She's wonderful. I loved the mother character in this movie. It was so realistic, and the way Laurie Metcalf portrays her is just spot on. Like, this is a real person, like, you just don't believe that she's acting. When somebody encompasses a role that strong, where I forget about Roseanne and I'm just seeing this mother of Lady Bird on screen, that's when someone's talented.
That's true.
The winner, and I had to give it to the obvious one, Allison Janney for I, Tonya. First of all, I love Allison Janney, so let me get that out of the way. The West Wing. Love C.J. Craig in The West Wing. She's great in that. And she's in my favorite movie of all time, The Way, Way Back. I love her role in that. She's always been extremely talented, and I'm glad that she found a role that was able to really push her acting talents, because she was great as this horrible mother to Tonya Harding. But, she's such an interesting character. Every time she's on screen, you're just trying to figure her out, by her mannerisms, by her looks. by what she says and how she says it. And the performance is so, just, it's a different role for Allison Janney, but she just jumps into it and becomes that character. And I just loved her in this movie. I think it's her best work. And yeah, she deserves the Oscar.
All right.
What do you got?
My Best Actress in a Supporting Role nominations are Lucy Boyanton from Black Coat's Daughter. She was terrific as the elder girl in the
I don't think she's...
You haven't seen this, so
yeah, but I don't think she's eligible for the... I mean, it's fine.
Is she not?
Yeah, because The Black Coat's Daughter is technically a 2015 movie.
Oh, is that...
It would premiere to the 202015 Toronto Film
You know
Festival.
what? I'm using my rankings list as the logic behind
That's
this.
fine.
So
Absolutely.
that's
No, I'm just pointing it out.
I understand. I know she wouldn't be in the real Oscars, but you know what? Whatever. But no, I thought she was fantastic, and just her very subtle performance. She's basically having to be in this place alone and reacting, or almost alone, I should say, for large parts of the movie. Daphne Keane for Logan. Again, everything I said earlier, she is fantastic in this movie. She stands amongst giants and she pulls it off. And that's great for a little kid, especially. Catherine Keener for Get Out. God, what a creepy woman. Oh my God, she just has a very subtle performance.
I love the joke about this being John Malkovich too. I just think that's fantastic, and yeah, the Catherine Keener connection is obviously...
That's completely fair. But I think she is terrific in it. She has a very subtly eerie performance. Just the way she'll say things. It just has this creepy undertone of, oh, she's going to mess. She just has evil intentions clearly behind her. But she was terrific. And runner-up, much like you, Laurie Metcalf. I loved her in Lady Bird. Absolutely adored her. But... and for all you said, so I'm just going to jump to it. Allison Janney. Come on. Of course. Holy crap. She was gripping, terrific as this mother who is both abusive and just... and then weirdly encouraging. Like, she encourages her daughter, but in weird ways.
In the weirdest way possible. Like,
Yes.
it's clear that... I think it's clear to me that she had good intentions and she was trying to be a good mother, but she has no idea how to do it.
Right.
So...
and that's what made it so fascinating. But she was just wonderful in this role. And I love when she just pops up again in the middle of the film after being gone for so long, and she said something like, "Oh, what did she say?" She's like, "So I got like, what's going on with my part?
Yeah,
you know,
where am I part?
You're cutting me out of the film here, or something like that." That was hilarious. But yeah, she's terrific in this movie.
Okay,
all right,
moving on to
actor.
by far my most competitive category of the year. This was so tough. So I'm going to cheat like you did for production design. I'm going to name real quick the ones that didn't make the list.
All right.
So hard. So I have to say, first of all, Noah Jupe for Wonder. I had to throw him in there because I thought he did a fantastic job in Wonder. Ray Romano for The Big Sick. Best performance of Ray Romano's career.
I didn't see Big Sick just because Ray Romano.
I mean, everyone said it that, he was up for an Oscar. I mean, he was one of the people thrown out as a possibility. So... yeah, that's how good he is.
I really need to see this movie. Anyway, keep going.
Now, I am one off the Academies, and this is the one off I am. Woody Harrelson for The Three Billboards. He almost made it. I couldn't quite work him in because, and I'll explain who I put in instead. And then Richard Jenkins for The Shape of Water. What do I say? I mean, he did a fantastic job. I mean, he was the best part of that movie.
That's fair.
He was great. Okay, so now jumping into the nominees. First of all, here's the person I had to throw in. Idris Elba for Molly's Game. He was just, wow. I mean, okay, so, yeah, he's good. And then there's this scene.
Oh, I know the scene.
And I was like, Jesus, that was amazing. Just where he steals the whole show. Me and Sean are just silent in the theater, just like dialing into Idris Elba's performance. And it's like, okay, that's an Oscar scene. Too bad he didn't get nominated because I really thought he did a fantastic job. He was really good in that. Next I have Michael Stuhlbarg for Call Me By Your Name. Speaking of Oscar scenes, he's like barely in the movie. He's just kind of a side character. And then he has this scene with Timothée Chalamet and he's like, oh, okay. Now I understand. He's great. I mean, I've seen Michael Stuhlbarg in a lot of different movies. He's actually in The Shape of Water as well, so that's kind of funny. You remember him? He plays the quirky scientist,
I remember,
Russian guy. Yeah. Then another obvious one, Christopher Plummer for All the Money in the World. Best part of All the Money in the World is Christopher Plummer's performance. It's surprising that a guy who shot this in 9 days trying to quickly replace Kevin Spacey From what I saw in the trailer, I feel like Christopher Plummer was probably a better choice. I mean, he looks more natural in the part, because they didn't have to put tons of makeup on him.
My guess is it would have just felt like House of Cards with Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Or something.
Kind of just evil.
That kind of
yeah.
role, yeah.
But with Christopher Plummer, I love his character. So mysterious. There's something likable about him, and there's also something you hate about him, which is so tough to pull off. But he did a great job. And last but not least, and this one was tough to not give it to him, but Willem Dafoe for the Florida Project. Yeah, wow, Willem Dafoe can still act. He is really good in this movie. I mean, his understated performance is fantastic. It's incredible. It's some of the best work he's ever done. It's great. He's great in the movie. Now,
what obvious pick are you going to say, Shane?
So many people know that I have a favorite actor. His name happens to be Sam Rockwell. He happens
Who's
to be
he?
a
lot of people
don't know. Maybe they'll finally know after this year.
That would be great.
They watch the Oscars, but yeah, this he's a guy who I've been pulling for a while, and finally he's up for an Oscar, and he is the favorite to win. So crossing my fingers and hoping to God, praying. But my God, I mean, okay. Let's just talk about it for a sec, because Sam Rockwell was in Seven Psychopaths. He did a fantastic job in that movie too. It's super memorable.
Yeah.
Best part of that movie.
Easily love him in that movie.
Yeah, and this movie, almost the best part of this movie. He's tied with Frances McDormand as the best. He's so good, and like his character is like, he starts out as just being this unlikable, terrible guy, and then slowly wins you over, and he redeems himself, becomes someone you like. And you know how hard that is? I'm going to make a racist asshole cop likable.
Yeah. Only
someone like Sam Rockwell can do that. Though he embodies that type of character perfectly. He straddles the line so closely, And then, it's an incredible performance. He owns that role. He's such a great actor, and it's too bad that he's been classified as a character actor, because he's better than that, And this movie proves it. He can play a lot of different roles, and he does a fantastic job here. Just a great understated performance. Some of the best work he's done in his career, and he's done a lot of good work in his career. So glad he's finally getting recognition. All right, Sean, off to you.
Those were great picks. I had trouble with this as well.
You can name anyone you had to leave out too, since I cheated.
Yeah, that's fair. I already deleted them all. So.
If you remember them off the top of your head.
You know what? I'm just gonna go with what I have.
Okay.
But Ben Mendelsohn from Darkest Hour, I thought, what a terrific performance. He's not a villain, per se, but he has this understanding. Like, you can see where he's coming from, definitely. But you're also like, oh, you're wrong, but I get you.
Interesting seeing another interpretation of that character after seeing Colin Firth, obviously winning the Oscar for his portrayal of Birdie. Yeah.
I actually don't know what you're talking about.
The King's Speech?
I haven't seen The King's Speech.
Oh, but you know about it. I'm sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No.
It's the same character. So.
Oh, okay.
They even both have the stutter. Ben Mendelsohn does the stutter.
Oh, you're right.
You're probably wondering why he was stuttering. That's why.
Okay. No, now I get it. I need to watch this now, apparently.
You need to see The King's Speech, yes.
My God. Anyway. But yes, he was terrific as this villainish kind of character. And you totally see where he's coming from, but, he was terrific. Anyways, Michael Stuhlbarg for Call Me By Your Name, for a lot of the same reasons you said. He was understated until that very end with that speech, which I'm like, okay, that is a heart-wrenching speech right there, and that was beautifully performed. Perfect. Exactly what this kid needs to hear, which that's the writing, of course, but it was just wonderfully acted. It felt like a father, just perfectly, and that's exactly what it needed to feel like, so I loved it. And Idris Elba for a lot of the same reasons, man. Like, that scene in Molly's Game when he's just chewing out these FBI agents is so tense, but it is so perfect because you're just rooting for it. Because it's like, yes, that's exactly what we want to hear. Mm-hmm. Because we've been won over by this character, Molly Brown, and through this film. And yes, it's like you're just sitting there silently rooting for Idris Elba. Like, yes, exactly. Shove it in their face, these idiots.
Yeah.
It's a terrific scene. Will Poulter. By God, can this guy play a villain? I keep hearing apparently he's like this
in Detroit.
In Detroit, yes. Sorry, he is absolutely terrific and terrifying. When you see him come on screen, you are scared for anyone around him who isn't white. Basically, is the best way I can put it, and it's just a terrific performance. He's great at playing villains. He's just a terrific actor. He was terrific in The Revenant. He's terrific here. He's absolutely scary. Absolutely. But I also love Sam Rockwell, and of course Sam Rockwell wins for me, and I absolutely hope he wins. He's a very underrated actor. I agree with you. I think every movie I've seen him in, he's been, if not the best, one of the best parts of that movie. And he steals the show here too, almost from Frances McDormand. It's Frances McDormand, so it's more like they're parrying each other.
Yeah.
But they're both terrific, and he stands up just with her, with Woody Harrelson, and he sells that change of heart that his character goes through, going from being racist to being this guy that really wants to do the right thing and help and be a good guy. And
absolutely,
it's terrific.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Best Actress. So, starting up for me, I have Margot Robbie from I, Tonya. She did fantastic work here. I mean, playing a different type of role than I'm sure she's used to. Very flawed character, but a very fascinating one. I thought she did a fantastic job. She was great casting, because it's definitely a tough role to pull off, making it likable, especially. You have to still like Tanya, and you have to feel bad for her, which I do. Honestly, after the movie, I was kind of like, oh God, I'm so sorry. Next up, I got Meryl Streep for The Post. Yes, jokes. Let the jokes commence.
You know what? She deserves it, though, for The Post.
She was really good.
I'll just give you a little hint for mine. But
yeah, she was really good in The Post. I mean, what a great performance. I mean, it's, again, understated, but also she's a headstrong woman. She's in a profession dominated by men, and she stands out, and she shows that she's just got that power underneath her, and she did a great job of portraying that type of character. Absolutely thought she did a great job. Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird. Yeah, Saoirse Ronan, she's a very talented actress. I mean, I loved her in Brooklyn. I think I like her better in this even than Brooklyn. This was, she did a fantastic job as that, spunky, smart teenage girl. I mean, that's a tough role to portray. I mean, it sounds easy, but she again has to straddle that line. She has to make Lady Bird likable, and that's not easy to make. Just everyone just like you automatically. So she did a great job, though. I really liked her performance. And then my last runner-up is Jessica Chastain from Molly's Game. So speaking of how great Jessica Chastain was before, are you hoping that she plays Beverly? Yeah, I hope so, too.
Oh, my God. She's literally... There's not another person... I hate people who are saying Amy Adams. That will never happen. She's not a better person. There's not a better person. Just announce it already. We already know she's
she's fantastic. I mean, she's great in every movie she's been in, but this movie in particular, I really loved her performance. Molly Bloom is a very fascinating character, and she did a good job making her seem real, but also extremely realistic, and not only just realistic, but really headstrong and mysterious. We don't really know everything that's going on in Molly's head. She's obviously very intelligent. But she does a great job portraying it. But of course, the winner is Frances McDormand.
I couldn't see that coming at all.
3 billboards. Yeah. Okay. So I agree with what everyone's saying. This is Frances McDormand's best work of her career, Fargo included. She is amazing in this movie. Whereas she was obviously fantastic as the quirky, let's say, police officer in Fargo. In this movie, she's just...
Oh, yeah, you think so, huh?
She is a storm. She is just absolutely mesmerizing to watch. I loved her performance. I thought she has just great scenes where she just owns it. Every time she speaks to Woody Harrelson, it's just like the strongest, type of snappy dialogue that she's able to deliver. It's probably go down as one of my favorite female roles or characters in film history. I mean, it's just a fantastic character, fantastic performance. She's so talented. Please give her the Oscar.
All right, I agree. I'm going to have one nomination, one extra in here, because there's someone on here that I just couldn't get rid of. But first, I'm going to say...
Who's the extra?
Margot Robbie.
Okay.
I'm going to say she was absolutely terrific as Tanya, and really get on her side. You know, at first, like you said, you're like not really sure. Like, okay, what am I supposed to think about you? But you absolutely get on her side, even though, you know, she's obviously not going about this situation the right way. You get where she's coming from. Margot Robbie is terrific. This might be, well, I'll just say one of the best performances I've ever seen from her. Maybe the best. She was absolutely terrific. But then, like you said, Meryl Streep for The Post. What an understated, great performance from her. Mm-hmm. She's absolutely gripping. Her acting with Tom Hanks, and I love Tom Hanks. One of my favorite actors. I'll say that. You know, to the end of my days, Tom Hanks is one of the best actors ever, or at least working in this day and age. And Meryl Streep just stands up with him, and it's just the banter between these two is terrific. And she really holds her own beautifully. I mean, it's Meryl Streep. She's a terrific actress. Everyone knows it. And here she really shines. And here's the one that you haven't seen this movie, so I wanted to make sure it got mentioned. Aubrey Plaza in Ingrid Goes West. By God, this is the best performance I've seen from her. Just this, she has to play this character who is normally be that creepy stalker on the internet that gets way too personal with some random stranger and tries to get into their life. And you're like, you're not supposed to root for her, but you honestly feel bad for her. I felt sorry for her by the end. Even though it's like, you did so many things wrong, but you can't help it. And she really sells. There's this beautiful speech at the end of the movie that I don't want to spoil, and she sells it. And it's so gripping and intense and beautiful. And that's the best part about this film. I love her acting in this movie. So I had to mention that. Saoirse Ronan, Lady Bird, much like you said, just what a gripping, understated. She's like a normal teenage girl going through life, but she's so gripping and interesting to watch going as she deals with her mother, as she will flip on a dime from, you know, crying with her mother over an audiobook of The Grapes of Wrath, and then the next minute jump out of a moving car, which is terrific.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. What an opener for this film. But her acting and just the way she reacts with everyone else is beautiful and just amazing and absolutely terrific. But and Jessica Chastain from Molly's Game, absolutely. Again, what a gripping character, what a gripping actress. Absolutely. And I agree. She actually, I was thinking about this watching it. I was like, she gets abused in this movie, but she also has to be tough on her own. She's kind of like Beverly, minus obviously Demonic Killer Clowns in it. And so I'm like, my God, this is like a freaking audition role. You know, just send this in. There you go. But I agree. Frances McDormand steals the show. I would say it's tied with Fargo. That's just a personal favorite role. I think those two are absolutely terrific performances. She's wonderful in this film, and you really feel for her. And she's tough and just she's tough, but she also knows when she's going too far. She knows when to stop and care about someone, like Woody Harrelson in a very great scene when she's talking to him in the police station.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she's still, like, she never takes it too far. She seems like a real person who feels for these people around her, even though she's pissed at a lot of them, too. But it's rightfully so that she's pissed at a lot.
That's when anger is realistic, you know, when you can show that you still care about somebody and yet you're mad at them.
Right. I thought she was absolutely terrific. She deserves the Oscar, honestly. And
let's hope justice is served.
I would gladly give it to her here.
All right, next up I got Best Actor. So this was a little tough to narrow down too, but I just went on my personal gut feeling. First up, I have Frank Grillo from Wheelman. I know this might be a surprise for some people. I love Frank Grillo. I've always thought he's a really underrated actor, and Wheelman finally showed that for sure. His performance is absolutely fantastic. He's on screen for like nearly 100% of the movie. He has to carry almost the entire thing on his shoulders, on the phone, you know, driving around, very long takes. You know, this is a tough movie to shoot, and he did a fantastic job, and I love Frank Grillo, and I wish he was more recognized because he's great. Next up, I got Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread. Well, his last role, you know, have to give him recognition.
He's like I said this going to the theaters, he's like the Rolling Stones of actors. He keeps going on his retirement tour. And
did he announce like this big a retirement before?
I feel like I guess I don't know that. Maybe that's a little that's just my
I don't
joke.
think he's ever like announced like he's retiring.
I thought he did after.
He just takes long breaks.
A lot after Lincoln, wasn't it? His last film.
Yeah, it was the last film, but he always takes like 5 years between movies.
Never mind. I was under the impression he had retired, I guess. But anyway, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, but I mean, he's great in Phantom Thread. I mean, what can I say? I mean, he's absolutely, magnetic, mysterious type of character. Some of you are just trying to figure out the entire movie, and he's like, who is this guy? Like, what makes him tick? And it's just every time Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, he's a method actor, so you can definitely understand why. But he really seems like he embodies the performance. Like he becomes the character almost. Which I loved. Next up, I got Jacob Tremblay from Wonder. So yeah, a little biased again, but when kids play kids in a realistic way, it blows me away. And Augie Pullman is one of the most realistic kids I've seen. Jake pulls it off so well. He's able to do exactly the mannerisms that you expect from a kid. That would really do. Kids whine, kids mope.
But it also doesn't get too annoying either.
Well, no, it's just real. Kids whine, kids mope, kids are selfish. And that's what he embodies in the film, and he works really well with the material. He's fantastic. In all the scenes, he's in. You really care about this kid by the end. You really start feeling for him, and that's why the movie, despite being a very tug on your heartstrings type, awe type movie, really works at the end, and it earns it, right? And this was the tough one, the top two, and I eventually had to go with my heart. So my last runner-up is Gary Oldman from Darkest Hour. Now, let me just say, he was very, very close. And Gary Oldman is fantastic in Darkest Hour. When he wins the Oscar, and yes, I'm saying when, he will deserve it. And I will not complain. Absolutely. Justice will be served. He was fantastic. He is a chameleon. I've always said Gary Oldman. He's a chameleon. He can become any role, basically. He can play anything. I mean, just think about the varying roles he's played in his career. Absolutely stunning.
As he went from Winston Churchill, Sirius Black, Commissioner Gordon, and so many varying roles.
Yeah, absolutely. He's playing villains. He's played heroes. This is great. But I had to give it to Timothée Chalamet from Call Me by Your Name.
Fair enough.
And I think you might understand why, since you've seen the movie. He's just amazing. Like one of the best young actors I've seen. He's just. He carries almost the entire movie on his shoulders. He does a lot of acting, just physical acting. Like a very low amount of dialogue for someone who has as much screen time as he does. And he has to, sell a romance that he wasn't obviously... He's straight. They're both straight. And I have to point that out because, it looks real. I buy it. They seem passionate together, Armie Hammer and Timothée Chalamet. So I have to give credit to Armie Hammer too, because he did a good job. But Timothée Chalamet, he really pulls it off. You can see it in his face. He's committed to this role, and he really it feels legitimate. It feels real. It feels earned. And that's tough in romance. You got to really buy it to get into it. And I did. He's fantastic.
Fair enough. I actually, Jacob Tremblay just barely didn't make the list, but I really wanted, but I had to put these.
Same with me and James Franco. He almost made it, but
yeah, okay.
I had to narrow it to 5.
So my nominations: Daniel Day-Lewis. I agree. What a fascinating performance. Daniel Day-Lewis is a terrific actor. I want to go back in his filmography. Maybe that's something I should do this year. Just watch some of his older films that
watch. There Will Be Blood.
Well, yeah, there's that.
Watch Gangs of New York.
My Left Foot. I know that's his first Oscar, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that. But anyways, he was terrific here. Just a very hard to read performance. Absolutely, like you said. And I think that was so fascinating and so great in this movie.
I love the surprise scene. I thought that was some of the best acting he's ever done. It's just fantastic. His just slow... It's all in his face. It's great.
He doesn't like surprises. I know he shows it in his acting. Timothée Chalamet is nominated for me. I thought he was terrific. I absolutely agree, and I get it. But he was absolutely terrific in this role, especially that end. And you do buy him. I agree. You buy both these guys, and Honestly, if you hadn't told me that they were both straight, I would be like, oh yeah, they probably are gay in real life. Like, I totally buy it. And then Daniel Kaluuya. Such a... Yeah, he's done a little bit of acting work, but just... the performance he had to do in that movie and just being quiet and keeping all these inner thoughts inside, but also show it on his face so we, the audience, understood what he was thinking was so terrific. Everything from the terror he feels and just the way it escalates on his face and his reactions to people, to everyone around him was perfect.
Yeah.
And Gary Oldman as Darkest Hour, I agree, he will win, and he damn well deserves it. Especially because he kept getting lost in the performance, or I guess I should say, I kept getting lost in watching him in his performance, and kept forgetting, oh yeah, that's Gary Oldman. He is a chameleon. You're absolutely correct. But I gotta give it to, oh hi James Franco, you win, huh? For the Disaster Artist. Oh my god, what a terrific performance as Tommy Wiseau. He sold that role perfectly, and he has to direct the movie while performing as Tommy Wiseau, directing The Room, and
he did it in the
he
Tommy
directed
Wiseau voice,
in the Tommy Wiseau voice,
so people didn't
know
if they was being legitimate or
which is amazing. But he absolutely deserves it. Of course, because of the real life scandal going on with him, he wasn't nominated, and that's unfortunate that happened. Whether or not
they get to avoid the awkwardness of having Tommy Wiseau at the Oscars.
I would have loved to see that, man. And you know you would have too. Like, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But, you know, he at least got the Golden Globe, so that's good. But he absolutely deserves a nomination, and I am happy to say, personally, I loved his performance. So, yes. I thought it was terrific. He really sold it. So, let's move on to the next big category. There's two more, and they're very obvious what they are.
Best Director. Let's obviously
start there.
I thought we do
Best Picture first.
Oh, yeah, of course. They always do Best Director last, right?
Yeah. Why would you?
No,
Okay,
let's do Best Director. Yeah, so I always put this category like second to last because I feel like it's second to most important, personally. I understand if people disagree, but starting my first runner-up, I have Taylor Sheridan for Wind River. Yeah, everything you said when you talk about his breakout. Again, qualifications were different for our lists, but
right.
But
go ahead.
No, he's absolutely great. This was a fantastic. Large debut film for him. Yeah, he holds up with Denis Villeneuve, and Sicario. I mean, it was a fantastic job directing his material. When a writer directs, they really understand their material, so they know how to direct it, especially if they're talented. I think Taylor Sheridan is naturally talented, and I hope that he goes on to direct more. Yeah. Because I loved his work with Wind River. It was really great. Next up, I have Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk. Nolan was kind of a mainstay in this nomination category, except for the actual Oscars, who just gave him his first nomination this year.
About freaking time. I was like, hey, I thought you guys hated Nolan, apparently.
No, but, I mean, Dunkirk was fantastic. I mean,
like, he's the new Martin Scorsese.
Nolan has definitely a distinct style, and I know some people don't get into it as much, but I like Nolan's style. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think for a war movie, it really worked, actually. I know the criticism is on his lack of focus on characters, but turns out in Dunkirk, it doesn't really suffer from that.
Mm-hmm. It's appropriate here.
Yeah, it is appropriate. Correct. Absolutely. Next up, I got Sean Baker for The Florida Project. Everything I said about him in the debut.
Every time you bring this movie up, a little part of me is sad inside because I didn't get to see it. It's at Riverview though this week, so I'm gonna see if it's still there next week and try to.
Yeah, no, I recommend it a lot. I mean, yeah, the movie is fantastically directed. Again, it's that experiential type film, very natural. It doesn't feel like you're watching a movie. It feels like you're there with these characters, and I love those type of movies. And then my last runner-up is Catherine Bigelow for Detroit. Yeah, it's a shame that this movie didn't get attention. I thought she did a fantastic job directing this movie. It's an intense film. It's definitely a tough watch, but it's a very thrilling movie. It's visceral. It feels real, and a movie that can affect you like that definitely deserves credit. I think she deserves a lot of credit for what she did because, yeah, it was intense. And last but not least, my winner is Martin McDonagh for 3 Billboards. So, yeah, I picked him. He didn't get a nomination, unfortunately, for the actual Oscars. But, yeah, I thought his direction was fantastic. I really think that he knows how to construct some of these films that kind of feel like plays, in a way, because he is a playwright, so it makes sense. But he knows how to compose them and construct them and edit them in a way that they feel natural and they flow extremely well. The transitions are great. He knows how to focus on actors. He knows how to use silence, because there's a lot of good uses of silence in this film, and I always think that's a good sign of good direction. He gives a great sense of place. Ebbing, Missouri by the end of the movie. You get a good idea of what this place is, and I loved that. And he juggles an ensemble cast. In all of his movies, he has. I guess in Bruges has a much smaller cast, but Seven Psychopaths and this movie have larger casts, and he juggles them extremely well, giving them all their due screen time, making sure they all have their chance in the spotlight. And I really, really love that about Martin McDonagh, and I hope next time he works, maybe he'll get attention for that. I'm glad he got a screenwriting nomination. He definitely deserves that, but yeah. Sean.
All right. My nominations are Catherine Bigelow for Detroit. I absolutely agree. It's one of those movies that came out too early in the year and no one really talked about that much, so it got overlooked by the Oscars, but she absolutely deserves a nomination. Her direction is terrific. Again, I can just reiterate everything I've already said about Detroit. It is visceral. It is heart-wrenching. It is claustrophobic. Everything about it, and her directing. She got these guys to act terrified, and these other guys like Will Poulter to act just like the biggest scums on the face of the planet. Even though everything I've ever heard about them from interviews is they're completely the opposite, especially Will Poulter, I guess. And she's a terrific director. She's shown it many times, and she pulls it off again here. Terrific directing in Detroit. Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk again. I'm happy it's got the real Oscar nomination, and his direction is terrific here. Like I mentioned, the characters are not the most important part here, and that works. This movie absolutely works for his style of this more visceral, visual film that is all about what you hear, what you see, and he pulls it off very well here. Taylor Sheridan for Wind River. What a great! I mean, yes, we're arguing on whether it's a debut or not, but regardless, what a great film for him to make. Like, he really took his style of writing and put it in visuals. I guess he saw how it was done before, and he really pulled it off, though. He really
took notes from David Mackenzie and
Denis Villeneuve, and he learned from some of the best, apparently, or at least how to do those movies, because it's absolutely terrific. And then Jordan Peele for Get Out, because what a great film to debut, to make such a eerie horror movie. He absolutely understands how the horror genre works, how to remix aspects from other horror films, but do it in a way that feels fresh, that feels like he took them and jumbled them together. I know we disagree on this movie, but I'm trying to get for it fast.
I'm not saying anything.
But the winner, I 100% agree with you. Martin McDonagh for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Absolutely. What a terrific masterpiece of a film. Just, you feel the small town. Like you said, you feel like you have been there, like you know these people. And like you almost want to visit this small, quaint little township. And yeah, I agree. Everything about this movie is so wonderful, and his directing really makes it shine. So yeah.
All right, Best Picture, a big one. So this one will probably be more predictable, especially if you saw our list video.
Because usually what I did, I literally pretty much mostly just copied my top 10.
Yeah,
I think one is missing.
Ends up happening. So here's mine. I'll just give it real quick, list them off, and then I'll list the winner. My nominees: I, Tonya. I mean, I've talked about all these movies before, so I feel like
let's just go through this.
Just going through them.
Look at our best of list if you want to.
Yeah.
Really.
Then I have Life, Lady Bird, Molly's Game, Dunkirk, Wonder, The Florida Project, Detroit, and Wind River. And my winner is, of course, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah. I mean, I really am hoping this wins the Oscar. It's a really tight race between it and The Shape of Water. Yeah.
I don't want Shape of Water.
I'm not a big Shape of Water
Three
fan.
Billboards, man.
Yeah, that would just.
I like
feel
Del
wrong.
Toro a lot, and his direction is good there, absolutely. But
Tell you what,
God,
if you give it to Three Billboards, have Del Toro win Best Director. That's
yeah,
fine.
I'd be
I will
fine.
trade.
A split vote.
Yeah.
Give it like best original screenplay, which I believe it's nominated for.
Yeah,
Am I correct or no?
for
Three
wait.
Billboards.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay, good. I was like making sure.
I just said that
remember this
earlier
correctly.
when I said.
No,
Martin
okay,
McDonagh's
okay,
son.
sorry. But yeah, like, give it best original screenplay, give it best picture, give Shape of Water best director. Fine. Absolutely agree.
So I guess I know what you're picking.
I might as well say my nomination, though. It's pretty obvious, so. Let's just wrap it up. Nominees: Baby Driver, Logan, The Disaster Artist, Lady Bird, Wind River, Get Out, Detroit, It, Dunkirk. Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is absolutely my favorite film of the year, so of course I'm going to nominate for Best Picture.
Yeah. So I'm kind of proud that I made you a Martin McDonagh fan because
Yeah,
just
holy crap.
3 months ago you hadn't seen a single.
Literally instantly after we watched them, I ordered both Seven Psychopaths and In Bruges on Amazon like right away. I was like, I need to own them.
And I'm guessing you're gonna buy Three Billboards pretty fast when it comes out.
Literally the day it comes out, I'll probably be like, I don't care. How much money I have? $20, 25, whatever I need.
Yeah.
Give it.
No, he's really. Have you watched interviews with him? Because he's actually a pretty
No,
cool
I
guy.
haven't.
Yeah, I'd
actually.
recommend it because
Okay.
yeah, he's a very talented guy, and I love everything about him. I could talk about him all day.
Yeah.
But again, if you want to listen to more, please refer to our top 25 list where we talk about pretty much every movie we just talked about in much more great detail. So yeah, I'd really recommend that to you guys. That will definitely be up by the time this is up. I'm going to try and get this up around the Oscars. So thanks guys so much for listening. We love doing these videos. This is why we sit through so many movies every year, is so we can finally sit down at the end of the year and present our opinions.
Unfortunately, this little video gets to show the good movies that we got to watch.
Here's the cool thing. So stay tuned, though, because the week after the Oscars, we're going to do an Oscar reactions podcast. We're going to talk about our thoughts on the Oscars. And if it's anything like previous years, there'll probably be a few things to talk about. There generally is.
Last
some
year, there
interesting-
definitely
Oh,
was.
there definitely was last year, yeah.
I doubt anything as amazing
Can we top last year? I'm not sure.
as La La Land and Moonlight.
I mean,
Being nominated
I
for
used to
Best
think
Picture.
Adele Dazeem was a big deal.
Oh, no. Dick Poop, Adele Dazeem, all those, no, nothing compared to La La Land instead of Moonlight for Best
Faye
Picture.
Dunaway and
Just screw Warren Beatty
Warren
and Faye
Beatty
Dunaway.
screwing up.
These poor old people were
Well,
brought
to
up
be fair,
because
it's
of
not their
movie.
fault. It wasn't their fault. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, it's
but
not their fault at all. It's
I just loved Warren Beatty.
People
Like everyone
hated
was like,
him
"Is he
wrong.
trying to make a joke? Like, is he like?"
I know, that's what
That's
I was
what I
thinking.
thought.
That's
He
what I
was
was
trying to be
thinking too.
All right. Well, thanks guys so much for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe as always, and stay tuned for our Oscar reactions, which should be coming pretty soon after this. So, thanks so much.
Yep, and see you later. Bye.